Well, good evening. Welcome to Down the Road. I'm Tyler Axness filling in for Joel Heitkamp. Today and tomorrow evening, I'll be taking on Down the Road, and I appreciate you riding along as we discover and debate really some of the things that are going on, not only just here in the state of North Dakota, but locally where you are and, quite frankly, internationally. And that's where I want to start tonight. We got a number of things we're going to be discussing throughout this next hour here. We've got the census numbers are in here in North Dakota. We're going to have one of those experts explain to you what that means. Also, that means redistricting is going to be taking place over the next couple of months. The legislative districts that you call home right now, that might not be the same over the next year. So we're going to have Rick Gion from North Dakota Voters First talk about that and what you should expect, especially if you're watching Beck TV in one of those rural pockets of North Dakota, because as we're about to find out in just a little bit, the population is shifting. We have more neighbors here in North Dakota, but quite frankly, they're all mostly located in about 4 different pockets. So we're going to be talking with Mr. Iverson with the census of North Dakota, because those rural pockets, our neighbors are moving to the metro areas and they're moving to the oil patch. So that might have an impact on what you are going to be seeing as far as representation. All that's going to be coming up a little bit later on. We're going to be talking about workplace and how that has been shifted now because of COVID-19. What are you expecting when it comes to vaccination and working remotely? But let's start here. Internationally speaking, we've been watching something unfold for a little while, and it has not been one of those situations that brings ease and peace of mind, and it's in Afghanistan. And earlier today, President Joe Biden did make some remarks as to the strategy. Been watching this unfold very rapidly as you have now the Taliban taking control of Afghanistan as we have moved on out with and forward with our withdrawal. I want to ask you questions a little bit later on in the show about your thoughts on all that, but let's start with workplace right now. And in fact, many of you might be watching this from right in your office because you're working from home, working remotely, because of everything that's changed over the last year. I want to know more about this pattern when it comes to working remotely and when it comes to requirements of vaccination from some major employers. And here to help me do that is Joel Patterson. He is a workforce expert to help break down some of the latest trends over this last year. Joel, I appreciate you taking time. How are you on this Monday evening?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me, and always it's good to be here.
Well, we appreciate the time because, this is one of those discussions a lot of people have had. We're winding down summer. I know people work throughout the summer, but some people are now getting back into the workforce and returning to offices that maybe they haven't been in for a few months. When I'm looking at some of the trends, especially nationally, some of the bigger corporations, aside from hospitals, some of those employers are now requiring vaccinations. And I'm sitting in a state where there's been quite a bit of hesitancy. I'm just curious, this trend, is this something that you see just starting from these big corporations that might be trickling down? Explain where we're at in this whole vaccination requirement.
Yeah, it's as everything in the last 18 months, it's an interesting topic in that we're all trying to come up with decisions around things that nobody's had to in the past. And I know as for me as a business owner, I hate the idea of having to tell people what to put into their bodies, no matter how I feel about what's going on with it. I hate just from a business perspective having to say something like that. And I think most businesses feel that way. But the reality is, specifically some of these larger firms like Walmart and Disney, some of these, Fortune 500, 100 firms, where their PR departments could be quite large. They're certainly looking at what's going on from a consumer perspective to make a decision on how they should handle it. But they are moving pretty quickly into saying we're going to mandate them. Now Walmart has not pushed that down to the stores yet. I'm not sure if Disney has to the parks yet, but it's more of a back office corporate kind of thing right now. But it's probably just a matter of time. And that's forcing a lot of smaller organizations to do the same. So my company is a consulting firm, so we go into other companies and learn about their business and help them with their business. And clearly what we have to be aware of is that, what risk are we bringing to bear? Are we following our rules as well as theirs? So at a minimum, we've got to be hyper vigilant about that. But I think it's still kind of everybody's staying on the sidelines. Nobody really wants to say absolutely you have to get it, but I see that New York City is requiring it now for pretty much anyone that goes to a bar or a gym or anything else. So it seems like it's right around the corner before something significant sort of is the thing that creates the wave of change.
Yeah, when those, quote, floodgates open up, in which, all right, well, if they're going forward, then, you know what, we're going to hitch our wagon onto that and we're going to follow suit. You get the sense, as you're just saying there, Joel, that we're right around the corner, I think, from that happening. There's a couple of things I want to pull a little bit more out on that. One is you have President Joe Biden had some remarks a couple of weeks ago praising private businesses and the private sector for really leading the charge in, quite frankly, these requirements and that's done to vaccination numbers in particular. But I want to ask on the employee side, because one thing when you have people that are skeptical of getting the vaccination and they're saying, well, my employer can't ask because that's a HIPAA violation. Curious your thoughts on that.
It's not a HIPAA violation, and I think the precedent's pretty well set at this point. It's just like any other vaccine that is required to go to school or anything else. It can be done. Now, whether or not you want to do it is a different story, but it can be done. And but some of the downside there too is it does open you up, I would think, to other areas, right? If you start requiring things like this, then why didn't you require something else? And I don't know that anybody really has the time or energy to fight that battle. The employees, though, it's interesting. We actually just did a survey internally to see how our employees were kind of being against the national averages, and we came in at 74%. I mean, right in line with a lot of the national averages that I hear. But I know for a fact that we have employees that they're just not going to do it, and so we're really trying to make sure that we accommodate that in some capacity, but also taking into account what happens when they have to go to a client so that everyone is aware of the situation.
Yeah, it's interesting. Here in North Dakota, I've visited. I have a radio show out at Fargo, and a number of the conversations we have with employees, that, look, I wasn't going to do this until the boss came in and said, look, this is going to be a requirement. They reluctantly did so. So I'll be curious to see, down the road, how many people say, nope, I'll go elsewhere. I'll try to take my talents to a different location. One of those,
and how much of a hassle it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine trying to, one more thing to carry around if you've got a card and I know my card it's not very fancy, I mean, it's just somebody that scribbled something on it.
Yeah.
Is that legal? Yeah, that's I think some of the things they're going to have to deal with in New York City as they try to enforce what they just put into place.
I want to switch gears here while I have a little bit of time with you. I mean, this vaccination requirement, if we're taking that turn, one way of which people have been really trying to avoid, contact, this, that, the other thing. Businesses have been working remotely if they've been allowed to do so. Now, I just mentioned a couple of, individuals I talked to. They don't have that option. They got to go show up to the manufacturing line. They got to get out there on the road and deliver product. Some people have the ability to work remotely. There's a couple of things now that we've been, in this for over a year as far as this adaptation in the workforce. You have some employers saying, all right, well, if you're going to be working remotely and you're no longer living in New York, since we're throwing that out a couple of times, you're working out of Enderlin, North Dakota. You can do all the same work, but the cost of living is not quite the same. So they were reducing some pay. I mean, should that be allowed? If the product is still being done and the work is still being done as effectively, should that pay be withdrawn or reduced just because of where you live?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one that I know a lot of people are dealing with right now. And this came up again a couple of days ago because Google, I don't know what tool they use, but they have some sort of internal location salary calculator that some people got some screenshots of. And I know specifically I saw something where if somebody that lives in San Francisco decided they wanted to live in Tahoe, they would have to take a 25% pay cut. I don't see that working out. I just can't. I understand the employer's perspective that, hey, I was paying you to be in the office every day, and the interaction and the relationships mean something, and I get that. I think that the employers are going to have to find some middle ground here, because I also don't think that you're going to be able to go to people, especially in the market that we're in right now, where it's hard enough to get employees, to go to them and say, you know what, not only are things a little different right now, but we're going to take a 25% pay cut from you and keep them. It's too easy for them to go around and find other work, and this is just another reason to not be happy where they are, and you don't want to be doing that as an employer right now.
Yeah, the employee morale of, Yeah, the pay and getting that pay stub with all the breakdown. I mean, that's something, and to have what seemingly would be punished just because you're not living in the same headquarter area is one that I'm going to be watching. I got just a final question. I want to break it down for the employer and the employee. Remote working, has it been good for first the employer or bad for the employer? And then secondly, on the employee side, has it really shifted? Is this something that's going to continue on? Has it been good or bad?
I think it really depends on the industry that you're in. For some industries, it's been great. I would tell you for technology companies that all developers, as an example, that custom develop whatever it might be, applications. Those guys a lot of times don't need to be in a workplace. The technology is held up. We can all work from home as we need to. Zoom or whatever tool you want to use works great. And for them, they don't, a lot of times, to stereotype a little bit, they don't want to be around a bunch of people. And productivity has stayed up for them. The issue is, I believe, that we're starting to come to the end of what's really a honeymoon period with the work from home versus the interaction that you get and the relationships you build at work. In that, I'm starting to see more and more people not want to be at home as much. Especially now, I think as people go back to school, as kids are back in school, we're seeing more and more of our employees show up. I'm in Texas, and so we're pretty aggressive on how we handle these kind of things here too. And everybody, it's kind of interesting. Over the last couple of weeks, our numbers have really kind of ticked up. And it's great to see because you get people together and the light bulb goes off. You're like, wow, I remember why I was here. Yeah. So it took a little time to get to where we were, work from home entirely. I think now we're finding a new balance at some point, probably a hybrid 3 days a week or something like that. It's here to stay though. And I think most companies have realized that, hey, I got to change a little bit to adapt.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we're talking about, trying to get employees. If you're in a field that allows or is capable of getting the job done, kind of that hybrid model, I think that's going to be something employees are going to be looking forward to in the future as well, Joel.
For sure. No doubt about it.
Hey, I appreciate your time down in Texas. It's warm. You stay safe down there, and we'll chat again soon, all right?
Yeah, thanks you. I appreciate the time. Take care.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Joel. I mean, workforce, many of you watching probably had that experience of which, all right, all of a sudden I got to get to the laptop at home, take care of the business then. It's a trend. It'll probably continue. One of the things that's trending upward is the North Dakota population. We'll talk with Kevin Iverson about that next.
Howdy folks, it's a Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
He once won a spelling bee in an ancient language that he did not speak. He is the only man to ever earn extra credit on an IQ exam. His academic degrees are considered legitimate spending currency in 22 nations, 2 principalities, and at Chick-fil-A restaurants in the United States and Western Canada.
I do not always engage with education programming, but when I do, it is the Dr. Duke Show.
Stay educated with the Dr. Duke Show, weekdays at 4 p.m. on Beck News.
Hi, Hunter Ellis here for Night Hero Binoculars by Atomic Beam. These binoculars let you see anything, even in pitch black darkness. Gotcha.
The secrets are powerful wide-angle atomic beam laser that reveals objects up to 150 yards away, hidden by darkness.
During the day, Night Hero gives you 10 times magnification. And when the sun goes down, press the Night Bright button to see clearly in the dark.
Light up garbage-eating critters or spot thieves before they even get close.
Call or click now and get Night Hero binoculars for just $39.99. Order right now and you can double it. Plus, get our best-selling atomic beam flashlight. Just pay a separate fee. We'll even ship them to you free. This TV special offer is not available on Amazon. You can get it all, but you have to order now.
Call 1-800-619-1091. That's 1-800-619-1091. Or visit bynighthero.com. That's bynighthero.com. Order now.
Attention! Have you or a loved one suffered from maculopathy, a serious retinal injury, after taking the prescription drug Almiron for interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome? In 2018, a researcher at the Emory School of Medicine linked Almiron, a prescription drug that treats interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome, to maculopathy, which is sight-threatening and can cause an abrupt change of vision. Call Elmiron Justice for a free legal consultation.
Please call 800-395-5680.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Last week was one of those dates that a lot of people put on the calendar because, you know what, every 10 years we get a census that you probably had the opportunity to go online, fill out. Maybe somebody knocked on your door and said, all right, I'm so-and-so at the census. We're just trying to figure out how many people are here. And last week we got those results. And just as we had the previous census, North Dakota, we continue to grow. And we're one of the few states, in fact, that's really been heading on that trajectory. But it's not equal across the board. Here to help me break down some of those numbers is Kevin Iverson, who was instrumental in getting that census number and that census done right here in North Dakota. Kevin, the numbers are in. Did anything stand out as a surprise to you?
Well, in some ways, yeah, there are a few surprises. Yeah, in fact, if we look at the Fargo area, certainly Cass County did in fact grow more than we expected. A little bit more than we expected. I guess I did expect to see more growth in, which has certainly been a trend. Even when North Dakota's been shrinking, Cass County, Fargo, West Fargo, that area's been growing. It grew a little bit more than we expected. If you look at it in the last decade, it grew about 34,000 individuals. So it's just shy of 35,000. The second was Williams County, northwestern North Dakota, followed by Burley County. Williams, about 18,500, Burley, about just over 17,000 people.
The trend, like you say, as far as Cass County, I mean, that's where I'm sitting in right now. And if you just drive down Veterans Boulevard and between Fargo and West Fargo, and you can see where a lot of that growth is. The oil patch, that's something for the last decade plus has been one of the center focuses of our attention, especially when we're out in the legislature. And I'm going to be visiting with some individuals about that. But the oil patch, did that slow down? Did that stay on that track as far as, all right, here's how many people are coming in? I'm just curious because, with that industry, the ebbs and flows, which we certainly saw over the last year, are people moving here and calling it home, or did they come, go? That's what I'm kind of curious about.
Yeah, the numbers that were released only show us that it's census by census, and so we only have numbers from 2010 to 2020. But the general feeling is the majority of those individuals came in the earlier part of the decade. Probably our largest growth was about 2012, 2013, 2014, right around there. And things are certainly believed to have slowed down some since then. We were very concerned in western North Dakota when oil prices tumbled just before the decennial census that we would be losing some of that population, and I suspect that we did lose some of that. But majority of what we lost were super commuters. A lot of people were counting the individuals that are there. It's not where you're physically located; it's where you call your residence. And a lot of people were maintaining residence someplace else in the country, and then traveling into North Dakota for work. I suspect we lost a lot more of those individuals than we lost people that were living here and ended up moving because of oil prices.
One of the other trends that I saw nationally, I'll be curious if that held up here in the state of North Dakota, is, there was a narrative going on for the last couple of years that metropolitan areas, cities, suburban areas, they're not growing as fast. People are moving back to the rural spots to kind of have more of a quiet life. The numbers didn't pan out to be that way, Kevin, at least on the national scale. I'm curious, did that happen in North Dakota as well?
Yeah, well, we don't have those super metro areas, and so where those urban cores have kind of been emptying out, our urban areas are not nearly as big. You consider Fargo now at just under 126,000 individuals. There's a lot of metro areas much larger than Fargo throughout the United States. Mm-hmm. What we saw was continued urbanization in the state of North Dakota. I go back 100 years ago to, or 1930, 90 years ago, and we were about 86% rural at that period of time. You think in terms of Cass County at that point in time only had about 6% of the state's population. If we look at it today, it has almost 1 in 4 residents of the state of North Dakota is in Cass County. And the vast majority of those individuals are not out on the farms in Cass County. They're in Fargo, West Fargo, Horst, areas like that, right around the Fargo metro area.
As far as, I mean, we got Bismarck, we got Fargo, you know, those metro areas, you're right to point out that, I mean, compared to other states and other metropolitan areas, I mean, the big cities, as we call them here, aren't exactly that big. But was there anywhere else in the state that kind of set you back? I mean, you know, I'm originally from the Benson County, Ramsey County area. I know the tourism up there on Devil's Lake has been a big drive for people to be moving there. Did that pan out? Was there any other pockets aside from the oil patch in the metro areas that, hey, you know what, this saw some growth as well?
Well, those are the primarily, if you look at a map, the counties that had a 20% growth are the oil patch counties, and then leading down to Billings and over Morton and over to Burleigh County. And then Cass County kind of stands out by itself in the eastern part of the state. For the most part, those counties, the east of the oil patch, right along the Canadian border, all saw contraction in terms of the population, which has been the trend. One of the surprises that I saw was actually Rolette County is estimated to have lost 1,750 individuals. Was almost a 14%, about a 12% loss in their population in the last decade. So that really surprised us. That we saw that big a loss in that area, and it's still a head scratcher. I need to take a look, see if we can figure out what's going on there.
Gonna kind of pivot just a little bit, and if you don't have the answers to these questions, feel free just to let me know, because I know I just wanted to get some of the raw numbers from you. But we had about a 16% growth somewhere in there. I think we're at about 780,000 people. I know that doesn't put us in like for federal delegation. We're not getting another congressman. We still just have the one. But as far as this number, this growth, what are the impacts or changes that we could expect from this growth as a population in the state of North Dakota? Do we get more federal relief? Explain some of that if you can.
Yeah, so you're right. We will not be gaining another legislative seat. By the way, our neighbors to the west, Montana, will be gaining a seat in the House of Representatives, so good for them. We would have had to gain about another 300,000 people in order to achieve that. But the real impact for North Dakota is that the way the federal dollars are distributed is based on population. It doesn't count how many people pay taxes. They count how many people are in your state. And so just the difference between what the estimated population the Bureau thought we would be at and what we really came in at on our census count, difference of about 14,000 people. Wow. If we calculate that over a 10-year period of time, we're probably talking close to $300 million in federal funding. So it's an incremental step, but giving the huge impact that the federal spending has on the state of North Dakota, it has a large impact over a decade.
Well, and you know, we pay into those taxes, so why not collect them back and receive them? That's why it was so important, and that's why I want to, just give the congratulations to your team and the appreciation, because it wasn't an easy census to go be conducted given the pandemic that we were in, as far as trying to get people counted, because as you were saying throughout that campaign, every single person counts, and this is what the benefit could be. So kudos to your team for getting it done, and now we have the payoff as far as here's how many people moved to North Dakota, here's how many people we can call neighbors. Kevin, is there anything else about this census that you had rolled out last week that I didn't get to ask you before I let you go?
Not really, but I'll tell you what, we really benefit from having a great set of leadership involved. The Complete Count Task Force, led by Louise Dardis and Linda Slahovic, West Fargo and Bismarck here, did a great job. We had 40 Complete Count committees throughout the state. They all deserve a debt of gratitude for the work they did. And I think that's a large reason why, at least part of the reason why our numbers came in as they did.
Yeah. Well, it shows. I mean, the fact that we were able to get the census completed in a timely fashion and to have the numbers come back the way they were. It wasn't an easy task. You pulled it off, Kevin. I appreciate your time today. We'll chat again soon, all right?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin Iverson. You know what? He did a lot of the work for the census along with the team that he just talked about. Let's talk about the legislative impacts. We aren't going to be gaining any federal delegation, but Are we going to gain a district in the legislature? Could there be some changes right around the corner? We'll talk about that with Rick Gion, North Dakota Voters First, next.
From Lambeau Field to your living room. Catch all the Green Bay Packers preseason games exclusively on Beck Sports. Available on KRDK, KNDB, or KNDM TV. The Pack take on the Houston Texans August 14th, followed by the New York Jets August 21st, and end off the preseason with the Buffalo Bills August 28th. Check Beck.Sports to find more scheduling and local channel information.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream sheets. When you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Introducing the Cool Turtle, the ultra-comfortable mask enhancer that creates a protective, cool, and breathable space between your mask and your face. Simply slide under any mask or gaiter and immediately feel the refreshing pocket of air surrounding your face. Cool Turtle's ergonomically designed, soft, comfortable shell immediately reduces mask friction, allowing you to breathe and talk in a comfortable environment.
I can actually breathe. With the Cool Turtle, no more sweating.
It's like I don't even have a mask on.
Call now and get not one, not two, but 3 Cool Turtles for just $10. Order now and we'll send you 2 more Cool Turtles free. No fees, absolutely free. Plus, you can get a 10-pack of 4-ply face masks. Just pay a separate fee. This offer is not available on Amazon. Get the real Cool Turtle now.
Call 1-800-270-1219. That's 1-800-270-1219. Or visit getcoolturtle.com. Order now.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money. So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
I'm Rick Becker from No Apologies. Welcome to your after-hours oasis of sanity. How can these people not see that they're just clowns?
We help simplify and educate you on things going on in the legislature and around the country.
Asking the hard-hitting questions.
But also having Lee Stack and Sid and Marty Croft stuff, and we've talked about that sometimes. It's bad.
Watch us weeknights at 9 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
Welcome back to Down the Road. I'm Tyler Axness filling in today and tomorrow for Joel Heitkamp. He'll be back in studio on Wednesday. We just got done having a conversation with Kevin Iverson about the census in North Dakota. The population grew about 16%. We're just shy of 780,000 people, but it wasn't equitably distributed throughout the state. In fact, place where I'm sitting here in Fargo, yeah, we saw some growth. Bismarck saw some growth. You saw some growth in the oil patch. Where you're watching me from might not be the same. Here to talk about what that might mean for redistricting is Rick Gion. He is the director of North Dakota Voters First, and he's joining me right now to talk about the implications of what this might mean legislatively for you going forward. Rick, I appreciate you taking some time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tyler. It's good to be on with you today.
Well, we have the numbers, and we have legislative districts, and we have to have the same, roughly about the same amount of people in each of those districts.
Right.
To make that work in some of these pockets, it's going to be a chore for this legislative committee coming up.
It definitely is. This state's gained over 100,000 people, so there will be some changes. We have 47 legislative districts. If they stay with that sort of system, we're going to see some increased district population size. So yeah, it's going to be a challenge.
The population size versus the district size, that's what I want to focus on because, there's some districts out there, it takes 3 hours to drive from one end of the state to the other, or one end of the district to the other. And I mean, when you think about all of that going forward, how do you maintain representation that way?
Yeah, that can really be a challenge too. I mean, you're talking about District 39, District 31, District 14. We were talking about a little bit earlier, District 23. They're large. These rural districts are going to be getting larger because the rural areas are losing population. That's what we saw in the census. It's really unfortunate. But our group, we're going to be pushing for, like they have in Minnesota, where you have a Senate district, but that Senate district is split for the House of Representatives. For example, Minnesota, District 4, Kent Eakin, Twin Valley, Moorhead, that's split for the House into 4A, which is Heather Keeler, mostly Moorhead, and then 4B, which is Paul Marquardt, which is kind of that rural area of that district. And so we've seen some really positive results from a system like that. And I just think with these districts getting larger, with Native American populations, we really need to be looking at that for better representation.
I'm curious, this committee of legislators will be meeting 10 days from now. You've been following along. I mean, you were instrumental in getting some unwanted things taken out of the makeup in this last legislative session. Do they have the ability to do that, or is it solely just drawing the map? I'm just curious, what authority do they have here in the next few months?
Well, they have a lot of authority. Legislators are going to be drawing their own maps, and 16 legislators, 14 Republicans, 2 Democrats. They have a lot of work to do. We feel that ultimately an independent commission would be better for this sort of thing, because then you get partisan politics out of that. But yeah, I mean, they definitely have a lot of work to do. The first meeting is Thursday, August 26th. You can submit testimony at 3 o'clock for that meeting I saw on the agenda. And by the way, to keep track of this stuff, it's the legislative website, legis.nd.gov, or follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We're at NorthDakotaVotersFirst.org too.
That is one benefit I'm glad to have seen out of this whole pandemic. We're talking about differences in workforce, how people are doing the job. Now that you can actually testify, you can watch these hearings in real time.
Huge.
Yeah, it's big.
Huge.
So I think, I mean, gerrymandering that happens during this time, and as this isn't a shot at North Dakota Republicans, because Democrats in other states that have control do the same.
Yes, they do.
You could do that all behind closed doors.
Yes.
You don't have that ability this time, Rick.
Well, and
or as much, I should say.
Right, and during the session, and we talked earlier about this, they wanted to exempt their draft maps from open records laws like they did in 2011. And you can look at that bill, House Bill 1397. 2011 bill was House Bill 1267. And we pushed to, and others did too, to push that they put those draft maps on the legislative website. The goal is 2 weeks ahead of time. We're happy with that. We hope that happens in almost every case, because we want that transparency. It's just, it's better for good government in this state.
That transparency, I've been visiting with some lawmakers. I'll be interested to see where some of those lines are drawn, not for the gerrymandering of the minority party, but some on their own side there. But my question, we talked about the division of having House Member A, House Member B.
Yep.
Is 47 the right number of districts in North Dakota when we have the growth that we do?
Well, we'll see. Constitution says we can have up to 54, I believe, and then a minimum of 40. And we may see some more districts. I know the Bastiat Caucus is pushing for more districts. We're just going to sit and watch and track this. We're going to push for the split House districts. We feel that would give better representation, especially to rural districts and those Native American reservations. So I wouldn't doubt if we see a few extra districts. I've been hearing maybe 49. We'll gain 1 or 2 in the Fargo area. Bismarck is probably going to gain some, and then obviously the oil patch as well.
Well, and that's where I'm not advocating for it, but when you think about it, if you don't do some of those structural changes as far as A, B, which you are right. I mean, there's no reason why somebody should have to drive from, the north side of their district 3 hours to see the southern side, because that small town is not going to know who you are.
Right.
And that's not fair for that resident to not have that legislator understand fully what's going on in their districts. I'm on board with that change. If that doesn't happen, I almost feel that you have to add another district or two, because, I mean, at that point, 3 hours and it turned into 3.5, 4 hours for some of those rural districts, Rick.
And that's a really good point. You look at District 39, you have to drive from Watford City to Bowman to go to a Saturday debate during the session or a church supper or something like that. In those rural districts, those things are so important. So yeah, I mean, we'll definitely be looking at those things too, absolutely.
As far as the committee process, we have the first meeting taking place just in about 10 days, August 26th. Have they really rolled out what their timeline is? I know we need a special session to implement this plan. We also have a lot of federal dollars that came in that they're looking to implement. But what's the time frame? Could you give us an update on that?
Yeah, there probably will be 3 meetings in September. Those are tentative now. I'm guessing another 3 or 4 in October. Their goal is to have a special session by early or mid-November. It may go into early December, but it will take up the fall. You'll see news articles. This next meeting on August 26th is going to be more of a planning meeting. I think NCSL, you're familiar with those folks.
That's the National Conference of State Legislators. Yeah. Viewers might not know that.
Sorry for the inside baseball. We're kind of nerds, you know, we like this stuff if you can't tell. Yeah. But yeah, so it's going to be more of a planning meeting. They were trained on the mapping software in late July. That software is called Maptitude. It's a really good software they're using, so that's good to hear. But yeah, there will be a lot of meetings. We're hoping for a lot of time for public input, and the testimony will be online, and you can watch these meetings online. They're going to be long, probably 6 or 8 hours long. So, but I can't do anything about that. Sorry, you'll have to.
Can't speed that process up. Yeah. And some elected officials like to hear themselves talk every now and then.
There are a few of those. Yes.
Speaking as a former one, so that's yeah. Anyway, if people wanted to submit. You said the testimony is already available to be submitted, or is that coming up? I forget. So
that's coming up.
Okay.
And we'll try to inform people about how to do that on social media. North Dakota Voters First on Facebook and Twitter. We're on Instagram now too, but that's just fun pictures. Anyway. One of our employees likes to make memes, but besides that, yes, a lot of those things available all online. Once you kind of figure out the system, it's easy to do, but it does take a little work to figure it out. But I will give a lot of kudos to Legislative Council and those legislators that pushed for more of those options.
So that's the process laid out for the changing the districts. This last legislative session, there's a discussion on changing votes or how people are allowed to vote. That was pushed back. There's a national trend still going on, national debate. You got some more time for me? I want to talk about that. You're North Dakota Voters First. You've been following along on some of this, Rick.
We love talking about that stuff.
All right, well, you stick around then. Rick Gion, he's with North Dakota Voters First. You know what? There's changes. There was a symposium down in South Dakota talking about voting. There's still a drive to change how and when and where all that you are able to cast your ballot. I want to talk about some of those options, the good, the bad, the ugly, next right here on Down the Road.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money.
So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, flat screens and laptops, even pools and spas, and so much more. Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
1-800-219-1467.
Go for Launch 2018 series winner. Without further ado, it is my honors. Reginae. The winning team is the Flumen River Excellence.
Oh my God!
They won!
We just got done having a discussion of what districts you might be voting in after this whole legislative process does unfold over the next couple of months. Census numbers are in. They try to get your districts to be about the same number of people in. I think there's ways we can improve upon that. But it's how you vote for those individuals in your districts has also been a point of contention for the last few years. We saw it in the last legislative session. You had a number of bills introduced right here in North Dakota to try to change how you can vote. Thankfully, a lot of those were pushed back. And in fact, some of the few that did pass actually did make it a little bit easier for some people to vote, including those college students. And one of the reasons why that bad legislation was halted in its tracks, Rick Gion, North Dakota Voters First, I told him to stick around because this whole debate's not over. There was a symposium down in South Dakota just last week. In fact, one of North Dakota's very own lawmakers was down there. Representative Terry Jones was down and participating in, and he was one of those individuals that introduced a lot of those pieces of legislation that would have made it more difficult for you to vote. Again, those are pushed back on, but that does not mean this fight's over. In fact, nationally speaking, there's a lot of debate on whether there should be a national standard. I want to ask Rick Gion about that. This is something that he follows along quite frequently because the debate is raging on. Rick, I appreciate you taking some more time here.
You bet.
The House of Representatives, passed some voter changes as far as trying to mitigate what other states are doing and the more restrictive voting. Yeah. The Senate is, of course, having this filibuster situation, which they're not moving forward. Should they move forward with some federal legislation or not?
Well, that For the People Act has some good things in there, regarding dark money, and especially this year with redistricting, gerrymandering. And so everything in that bill we haven't, quite looked at, or our board hasn't approved, but those two things for sure need to be addressed.
One of the things that keeps getting brought up, and there's a lot of people that are going to be saying, well, there should be, that are watching right now on Beck, and it has to do with voter ID. In North Dakota, we dabbled in that in 2013, and I'm just going to say it. You can be mad at me if you want out there watching, but the changes then happened because Heidi Heitkamp beat Rick Berg for the U.S. Senate. I was out there. That's what happened. And while that was transpiring, we had debated while I was in the Senate that this voter ID is going to harm Native American voters. Mm-hmm. Here, all these years later, after a lawsuit, it proved that we were right in saying that the requirements of voter ID, the way of which it was written, does do more harm for certain groups than others. I'm curious, just overall, this voter ID debate, is this something, polling-wise shows about 70% of people approve of some form of ID required. I've got some stipulations with that. I just want to throw that out, and you take it from there, and I'll give you my thoughts.
And I think we do, too. And back to that lawsuit with the Native American population, the state needs to now pay $450,000. And so we're wasting taxpayer money with some of this legislation and these lawsuits. And so that's just, it's a real shame. But back to the voter ID issue, in North Dakota, driver's license plus, and if your address has changed, then you can bring a utility bill, those sorts of things. Now we see the Secretary of State's office really reaching out to those Native American areas and making sure those folks have the right IDs. See, those types of things are good. You're making it more convenient for people to vote. At what level do you want? Do you want an actual voter ID, or why isn't a driver's license good enough? I haven't heard that argument. If you want another level of bureaucracy, add a voter ID on top of the other ID you need for everything else, and so that makes things less convenient to vote. And is that good or is that bad? Was Senator Kramer just wanting to stir things up and relive the election? There's some of that involved. Is some of these voter ID things, is that retribution for somebody that we don't like or like winning an election? All of those, what's the intent here? If the intent is security and making things more convenient for people to vote, then sure. And I think those are those stipulations you're talking about. But if it's all this political stuff that, we've been seeing the last couple of years, then no, absolutely not.
Well, that's where you touch on it as far as, is the intent to make it easier, to make it more difficult? And I'm fine with voter ID. I have no problem with having to prove that you are who you are and you are living where you say you are living. Right. Then make it free. Right. Then provide it. You mentioned Senator Kramer, who introduced a piece of legislation that who knows how serious he was, but it comes down to something we talked about at the beginning of this show when it comes to vaccination. Right. And some businesses are now requiring proof of vaccination. And Kramer's bill would say, look, if you are requiring proof of vaccination, a card, then you need to require voter ID. The thing that's different about these two is one is more difficult to attain. You can go get your vaccine for free. You get that card for free. You do not get your ID, the driver's license or whatever ID, for free. If you want to make that gimmick a reality, then make it as easily accessible for that voter ID as it is getting that vaccination card.
And you're exactly right. That needs to be free. And it needs to be fairly convenient to get. I mean, your real ID was hard to get. There are reasons for that. If that's not good enough for some of these folks, I don't know what is. I mean, I had to get my birth certificate from Bismarck, driver's license, social security card, all that stuff, bring it down there. That was not convenient. And if we can't use a real ID as our voter ID, I don't know. I mean, the question is, do you want to add another layer of bureaucracy, another layer of government to that? I don't think so.
When I think there's a lot of people that say, no, we don't want that. There's this assumption that it's easily done. And if it is easily done, as far as getting the system that verifies who you are and that you can easily obtain that with no cost, then by all means, have voter ID. Have something that you bring to the ballot and provide proof, and have it pretty much universal is where I'm at this point.
Yeah, and polling says that people support voter ID. We're saying, we agree with a lot of that. There are stipulations, obviously, because what's the intent? But yeah, I mean, to vote, you should have to have some sort of identification. You're in a voter file, a statewide voter file. In North Dakota, there's no voter registration, only state in the nation. And a lot of people like that. But in that comes like security issues, but you are in a statewide voter file if you don't know you are. Yeah. So now you know. But that's how they check you off when you go up to the front right away and they, give you your ballot and that sort of thing.
Across the nation, and it hasn't happened here yet, but there's been the election official, secretaries of state, that you have seen certain legislatures try to take that authority and put it into the politics of it. We've had a long-serving Secretary of State, Al Jager. He announced he's retiring, and Cass County, where we're sitting, the person in charge of the elections here, Mike Montplaisir, is retiring. Are these I mean, the Al Jager one doesn't surprise anybody, and I'm sure Mike Montplaisir didn't either. I mean, they've served a long time. Are these turnovers in this time at all concerning to you as far as in North Dakota, because you're going to have a new authority, or is this just not coincidence that they're retiring at the time where you're seeing heightened scrutiny of election officials?
Yeah, it's interesting that those two would choose to retire at this point. I mean, their job can't be easy, honestly, especially last go around. And in Cass County, somebody was telling me, I think it was somebody in the League of Women Voters, that Cass County itself had 90 different ballots. Close to 90 different ballots, because you have school boards and all these park boards and all these other things. And so Mike Montplaisir has a huge job. Yeah. So that's an appointed position by the Cass County Commission. Al Jaeger, Secretary of State, we'll get some good candidates to run for that, I'm sure, and we'll see how that goes, and the people will elect a new Secretary of State. But I will say, North Dakota, as far as voter fraud goes, North Dakota's election system has really been quite good.
Yeah. And Al Jaeger has said that himself as well, even when some people have questioned that the need for changes when there hasn't been an issue as of now to lead to those changes in this state.
Yeah, and for us, I think like campaign finance transparency, dark money, we'd like to see some changes there. Yeah. The Secretary of State's office could probably be a better advocate as far as that goes, and then also resources and how the website works. I mean, those are improvements that we'd like to see.
Well, election will be around the corner. It's already August here in 2021. 2022 is right there.
It never ends.
Rick, I appreciate you taking time. I asked for 10, you gave me 20.
You bet.
Yeah, you take care. Rick Gion, North Dakota Voters First. He's the director over there. When we come back, nationally, internationally, there's all eyes are on Afghanistan. I want to share some thoughts, ask some questions before we take a deep dive on tomorrow's Down the Road.
Do you worry about going to the dentist? After all, a visit to the dentist can easily cost $2,000 or more. Well, relax. The Carefree Dental Card is now available in your area. Call now and we'll send your actual card at no cost today. With the Carefree Dental Card, you go to the dentist whenever you need and you instantly pay a lot less. Activate your card and you can start using it immediately. From exams and cleanings to more expensive procedures like crowns, dentures, even braces, they're all included with the Carefree Dental Card. Say you go to the dentist today without any card and your bill is, well, ouch. Wait a minute, let's try that again. You go to the dentist today and show your Carefree Dental Card, you save $525. The Carefree Dental Card is just $15.95 a month, so call now and make going to the dentist carefree.
Call 1-800-416-5739 to receive your Carefree Dental Card information kit. 1-800-416-5739. Call now.
I can't say enough good things about these nano hearing aids.
Real people talking about nano hearing aids.
The hearing quality is great.
Until now, hearing aids used to be too expensive for the average person. Until nano. Call now and you'll get your nano hearing aids for only $297. You'll save $100. When you buy one hearing aid, Nano will give you a second hearing aid free. Call right now.
1-800-213-3815.
Spas, etc.
You've come to know and trust us for over 18 years with the largest selection and showroom in Western North Dakota for our beautiful Sundance spas. Plus, you can pick out your next home experience with our selection of pool tables, shuffleboards, and fun accessories.
Spas, etc. Your relaxation destination on Main and Bismarck.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Welcome to the final stretch of Down the Road of Monday afternoon. Monday evening, I hope it's been treating you well. Folks, we've been watching internationally now, and we woke up to watch some of the horrific videos of what's taking place over in Afghanistan. President Biden did give out some reasons earlier today, and we're going to break those down tomorrow with Dr. Thomas Ambrosio. He is all over international affairs, an expert when it comes to everything that's been taking place over there. But it is gut-wrenching to watch what is unfolding over in Afghanistan. You were watching as people were clinging onto Air Force planes as they were taking off on the runway. Taliban took control back over Afghanistan at a much more rapid pace than what I think a lot of people, including this White House and this administration, had expected. There's a lot of pointing the fingers back and forth of who's to blame. And quite frankly, this isn't something that happened overnight with one administration. Yes, President Joe Biden is currently in the White House, and ultimately the buck does stop with him and his advisors. However, there were plans to withdraw even sooner from the previous administration. Before that, you had Barack Obama that had withdrawn some troops only to turn around and add more to it. And ultimately, you know that George Bush was president when we invaded. 20 years. We are just shy of 20 years since 9/11. The approach of which we are withdrawing now has people up in arms. Some people upset, some people saying this should have happened sooner, some people wondering when we could have pushed this back for. And the questions that I have for Dr. Ambrosio, and I want you to ask yourself, is what have made a difference with the preparedness that we are now watching from some of those citizens there? If we would have waited 5 more years, would it have still been this? Had we done it 5 years before? I don't have the answers. We got a lot of questions. I know that for those that were over in Afghanistan, that served as Americans, those that are in Afghanistan right now that were allies and helped our American troops, my heart's going out to them as I watch this unfold in just such a quick amount of time, to collapse, the deterioration of that country. We'll ask some questions with Dr. Thomas Ambrosio tomorrow as to what we can expect going forward, what that means to our national security now that we are fully withdrawn. And I want you to ask yourself some of those questions too, and keep those individuals in your thoughts, and those that have served, that many of you probably know somebody that took some time, served this country over, defending us in that country and what they're going through as they watch us unfold as well. That and more is coming up tomorrow. I'm Tyler Axness. We are going to have a little bit more discussion on the COVID-19 situation, employment, oil and gas development in North Dakota. It's all on the table. Until then, it's been good riding with you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow, and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.